Everyone. Welcome to Concordia University's Fourth Space, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of the Women in Engineering Iron Ring podcast. Now, to help situate you, we are streaming to YouTube live from Fourth Space, and we are located here on unceded Indigenous lands in Chichage, Montreal. Fourth Space, we work with the university community to help mobilize knowledge, co-creating daily activities that examine research questions, projects, things in development across the university. We're running today's event as a live streamed Zoom meeting, so anyone joining us there, feel free to pop your questions into the chat. And anyone in the space, we'll just get a microphone to you if you have questions. And with that, it's very much my pleasure to hand it over to our hosts of the Iron Ring, Emilia, Alexandra, Srab. Welcome back.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Iron Ring podcast. I'm your host, Alexandra.
I'm Emilia.
And I'm Srab.
And today we have Myriam Ben Aoun, an externals designer at Pratt Whitney. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm glad to see you guys.
Great.
Yeah.
So can you just start off by telling us a bit about your background and...
So I'm originally from Tunisia. I was born and raised there. I came to Canada about 5 years ago for my master's. Yeah, growing up in Tunisia is fun. The weather's definitely different than here. I got interested in engineering from a very young age. I always knew I wanted to be an engineer. There was no other option for me. I didn't consider anything else. It was, so my background has always been this nerdy kid was always curious about everything, always wanting to figure out how things worked. And that's kind of like how it piqued the interest. And little by little, the vision became clearer about what I wanted to do, and got interested in aeronautical engineering. And that was when I was a kid too. First time I flew. Being on an airplane, I was like, whoa, I want to know how these things work now. And then a couple of years later, I was like around 12 or so, I watched a movie actually called Flight Plan. And the main character is an aeronautical engineer and a woman. And I was like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. This is what I want to do for a living. She was like going through all the systems and she knew exactly what everything did. And I was like, yeah, that's it. This is it for me. This is what I want. This is cool. And so little by little, the vision started becoming clearer. And I chose the right majors to do that. And I studied aeronautical engineering in Tunisia. And then I came to Canada for my master's in mechanical engineering with a specialty in vibro-acoustics. Now I work at Pratt. Yeah.
So you were pretty set on for a while. Never doubted that there should be another career path.
No.
Always stuck to aeronautical engineering.
I always did, because for me, it was very important to do something that I found fascinating, And airplanes, I found them fascinating from a young age. There's always something to discover. There's always something to learn. I definitely want a career where there's a lot of growth and there's a lot of opportunity to learn things every single day. And for me, aeronautical engineering kind of checked all the boxes. That's kind of how it started.
Do you have anyone in your family that was an engineer? Because I feel like you might know that you like planes, but like, how would you know to go directly into engineering after?
No, I was actually the first engineer in my family. Thank you. No, I didn't really know any engineers per se, but I don't know. I always saw it as this amazing career that it's like a big world for someone who's very curious about everything. I don't know, the word of engineering, I found it like this word of endless possibilities, and I could entertain my curiosity in so many different ways. And so, no, I didn't really know anyone as an engineer. It was that movie when I saw it the first time. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is a right actual career path that I could take. And sometimes.
Was there any other fields of engineering that interested you, or just
mechanical specifically within the aeronautical part? Like I like the mechanical aspect because I like to see how things work, how they fit together. And I did that with everything. Like when I was a kid, with my toys, with everything, I just wanted to see what's the system inside. Like even when I see a tripod or whatever, and I was like, yeah, but what's inside? You know what I mean? So maybe the mechanical aspect of things, that's something that I always found interesting. And in the aviation industry for sure, because it added a little something extra for me.
And is there any differences between aeronautical and aerospace engineering, you'd say?
Yeah, so aeronautical engineering is mainly like all of aircraft within the Earth's atmosphere, and aerospace is more of a broader term that would include aircraft and spacecraft. So yeah, we would always say the aerospace industry, but for
Yeah.
me, when I studied aeronautical engineering, we mainly studied airplanes, so that's why it was called aeronautical engineering degree. It's not, we didn't really take any courses about spacecraft, so which is
Okay.
unfortunate, but
Yeah, you would have liked to
I would have
experience
liked
both
that
too.
too.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It is pretty
"Oh."
cool.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's the difference. Yeah.
I wanted to see if your experience in school in Tunisia was like, how was it? Was it hard being a woman in the program, or was it not? Like, did you not notice a difference, or how was it for you?
I wouldn't say it was hard. It was not very common. Like I never found myself in a place where we were more than three in my class, you know. So I knew it was more of a guys' club, but at the same time, I kind of didn't mind it because I always had guy friends. So it didn't really make a big difference for me on that side, but it was not very common, unfortunately. And I would like to see more of that. I'd like to see more women. That's why I really love your approach, and I really love this initiative that you're taking because yeah, we do need a lot more women in engineering.
That was pretty low.
Yeah, it still is, unfortunately, it still is, but it's a great field and we can still do it. Yeah.
So it's still pretty similar to the schooling in Montreal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so congratulations on receiving the ISTAT Scholarship
Thank
Award
you.
during your undergraduate studies. For our viewers who aren't familiar with the award, can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, of course. So ISTAT stands for International Society for Transport Aircraft Trading, something like that.
Okay.
So basically, I'm not really sure. I hope I got it right. But it's basically a foundation that promotes young individuals and institutions whose goal is to have careers in aviation, and they do that through different programs, whether scholarships, internships, and courses and stuff like that. And so I got into the scholarship one, which is they basically pay tuition fees for 1 year, which is awesome because yeah. And for that one, the university has to nominate you, and they get to only nominate 2 people per year. And I knew this from the beginning. I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna get that scholarship. I have to be at the top of my class to get that scholarship." So yeah, so that's what the program was about, and I'm glad that I was in a university that had a lot of international relations with whether through scholarships or exchange programs, and I always aim to be amongst the candidates that would be selected for these things because might as well, right? Go big or go home kind of thing.
If it had part of like an exchange program, did you get to travel a lot during your studies?
I did my final year internship in Spain.
Wow.
It was not with ISTAT, but I loved it too because again it was like, so my dad always said aim to be in the top 10%, whatever you do. If you're in a class of 30, be in the top 3 because that's where the opportunity is going to be. Like if there's any internships, if there's anything, they're going to only consider the top 10% most of the time. It's going to be harder for. And so I took that to heart. Like that's something that I lived by as a student, day in and day out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna be the best of the best so that I can actually get all of these opportunities. And I did. So I did go to Spain on an exchange program for the University of Malaga. They stayed there for a semester. Did my final year project there, which was fun. And yeah, it was also funded, which is a big plus.
That's huge.
Huge plus. Yeah.
I saw that you also taught English, if I'm not mistaken, in Thailand.
I did, yeah.
I saw that. I was like, I found that super interesting because I feel like it's a cool initiative to be able to do that and teach English, but also the fact that you went to Thailand, I'm sure must have been a
It was
really cool
amazing, honestly.
shock.
That was like my extracurricular at school. I was in part of ASEC, which is like a student association, and we do like the main goal is basically to develop leadership skills as students. And we had different departments. Let's say I was working in the global volunteer department, so we host volunteers from other countries. In Tunisia, we plan volunteering experiences, but we also try to find the right volunteering experience for people abroad. And so at some point I was like, I want to do this too, I'm going to get my own volunteering experience abroad. And so I did that in Thailand. I found myself something that was that had accommodation and food already taken care of. So you don't, yeah, exactly. And yeah, I spent 2 months teaching English in an elementary school in Thailand.
So nice.
It was so cute and it was such a nice experience. Yeah.
Wow. I have to say, I feel like only heard of maybe one or two people who've had that kind of opportunity, but I know that they look for a lot
Yeah,
of students as well.
They do.
But I think that if people knew, like, if it's through the university or through, like, you said it was
Yeah.
through a society that you kind of
Yeah, it was
did
a
this?
yeah, it was a school. It was how do you say that? Like a student association.
Like women in engineering, like us kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of like that, but it was like throughout all of the universities,
Oh.
all around the world. You know,
Okay.
it's not all the
Okay.
universities, but most of them. And yeah, it's just students, and you're like up to 30 years old or something like that. Like, there's an age limit there. I remember there was one. I don't remember what it was. But yeah, so it was like run by students, for students. We do seminars. We did like a lot of. It's all about leadership and
That's
building
so
a
cool.
network. It's so good. Yeah.
I feel like that's really beneficial to people's, like, to young people's future careers and just trying to figure out what you
Absolutely.
like and what you want to do.
Absolutely. No, I agree. It's very important to get out there as much as you can and meet people and take any opportunity you can get. Yeah, you never know.
Noted. Pay attention to
Like,
that.
Did you do it during your studies or like summer
I did
break
it in
or-
summer break. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
So
cool.
yeah, it
So
was.
really-
We don't have summer classes, so might as well. It was either an internship or that.
That's
And I
nice.
was like, this is really something that I can do only now. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
take the chance to do it now before things get very busy in my life. And so yeah, it was during the summer, 2 months. It was good. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
really cool.
I want to go visit. There's so many places around the world. I feel like
It's
I
mainly
want to
that.
visit.
Honestly, it's mainly that. It's like what we promoted is like internships or volunteering experiences abroad. So you get to experience another culture. You get to live with the people, and it's very enriching as an experience. And yeah, I'm very happy that I took the time to do that. Honestly.
I know that Concordia does offer sometimes. I think it's people have to like go and look for, I think,
Mhm.
those opportunities because I feel like
True.
they don't always advertise it all the time, but they do have, I know here at Concordia,
Mhm.
I think it's with the Provost Center and everything, they have a whole, they look into international opportunities. And I feel like if students remember this and look
Yeah.
into it, there's a lot of opportunities to do that. But I like that that was something that you have. And I feel like that puts you kind of on a unique side when
Yeah.
people look at your resume, you know, like you went to
Thank you.
Thailand, taught English, and it must have been, like you said, a great experience, not only
It was
for
amazing.
your career, but your personal life, I'm sure as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm still in touch with them. I'm still in touch with my students. Like,
Wow,
yeah.
so
Yeah, they're all grown up now.
You're like, oh my God.
Well,
That's so
it was
nice.
7 years ago. So like,
Well, you made a
I taught
difference.
kindergarten and up until 6th grade. So now they're very big.
Did you inspire any of them to become an aerospace engineer as well?
I hope so, but I don't know if I did. But
sure.
they definitely knew that I was studying engineering because I wouldn't be teaching all the time. Like they only had English classes once or twice a week. So besides kindergarten that I taught every day, the other ones I only saw them once a week. And so in my free time, I'm in the library, they're studying and playing with kids. And so they always ask me what I study. I was like, hey, I study engineering. Do you want to see?
Let me show you.
Aeronautical engineering. This is an airplane. This is what's inside.
That's nice. And the fact that you keep in touch with them is really cute.
Yeah.
And I think it's really, they're gonna always remember you now too, for sure.
Oh, they're the sweetest. They're the sweetest. Yeah.
did you like get to travel a lot during or were you more like in the
I-
school?
Oh no, I did. I work Monday to Friday. The weekends for me. The weekend is to explore.
Nice.
So yeah, we did, and I'm glad because when we get there, we do like a preparation seminar with all the volunteers, and so we kind of became a group of friends from all over the world, and we're like, hey, let's travel every weekend, and we did that. So every weekend we would pick a city. We had a group chat. We're like, okay, next week we're going here. And yeah, we traveled quite a bit in Thailand during those two months, and I'm glad I got to do that experience. Honestly, it was very enriching.
Do you have a favorite city that you visited there?
I like Chiang Mai, like in the north of Thailand. It was beautiful. We went to a certain elephant refuge
Wow.
thing, and we spent the whole day with elephants, and that was like one of those yeah wholesome experiences that I've had.
It's so nice.
Aw.
I feel like everyone should have an experience like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should absolutely, and there are a lot of opportunities though. Like the one that I found, the accommodation and food are provided for, so it's mainly just your pocket money when you want to travel during the week and your flight. That's it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there
I
are
wanna do
opportunities.
that.
I highly recommend it. Go for it.
I feel like many students are stuck in the studying all the
It's true.
time or like
It's true.
study internship that they forget that these experiences like broaden
You
their
grow a lot.
horizon.
You develop
Yeah.
different skills, honestly, and communicating with people not in your native language or theirs is very hard.
Yeah.
And you develop a different set of skills, honestly. But I highly encourage it. Everything that's kind of outside of the norm, outside of your normal
Yeah.
studies, internships, it's very important.
And
Yeah.
companies definitely look for that as well, like these
They
unique
do.
experiences that
Yeah.
people have taken. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
it's
they do.
definitely important too.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, did you learn the language?
Hey, I not very well. Well, so I learned like a few words, you know, thank you, hello, excuse me, that I forgot how to say it right now. And like asking for directions, you know, where is this thing, or where is usually where is whatever like the main thing that we want to go to, be like, where is this monument, or where is this? Sometimes you get lost, you know, and you find yourself in a place where nobody speaks English.
Yeah.
You're like, how am I supposed to transfer this information to them? But
It
yeah,
worked out, clearly.
it worked out. It worked out exactly. We tried to have like one of our Thai friends with us all the time, but they weren't always available. You know, they had a life. They
Yeah.
couldn't travel with us every weekend. Yeah, I mean, we had school or studies or whatever they had, but we were volunteers. We were the ones who wanted to travel every weekend. So yeah,
Still a good experience. And I feel like you got your break from school while still
yeah,
doing a lot for yourself and for your career. And then you go right back into it. I'm sure afterwards it must have been different to go back after that experience.
yeah. It was.
harder.
It was, yeah, and it was also my first international experience for that, like for 2 months where I was away from home, living in a different culture. It was like easing my way into living abroad little by little. Started with 2 months, and then I went to Spain for 5 months, and then I came to Canada.
Then you moved
so-
away.
And then yeah, and then I was like, okay, I'm out.
You also completed a master's in vibro-acoustics in
Yeah.
the University of Sherbrooke. Could you tell us some key findings or insights about your research? Also, what is vibro-acoustics?
All right.
Yeah,
Good question.
Yeah.
So that actually was a little surprise along the way. That wasn't exactly part of the plan, because I was doing my last year internship in Spain, and the director of my school reached out to me and she said, "Listen, there's this recruiter coming from Canada, and he's interviewing the top 3 of the universities for a certain opportunity. Are you interested?" I was like, "Yeah, of course, count me in." And I didn't care. I was like, "Okay, it's gonna be in Canada. It's for a master's. I'm gonna do this." And it just so happened that the project that I was working on was noise control and aeronautical structures. So it really is, noise control is mainly vibroacoustics. And so that's it, like my profile kind of stood out because I was already working on a project that's related to vibroacoustics. And it's mainly the study of vibrations and sound waves of systems. And since I was in mechanical engineering, it was basically like, for example, the vibration of the table or the vibration of this, and trying to find the natural frequencies and the patterns and everything. And so my thesis was part of a bigger project that was both experimental and numerical, and I did the experimental part. So I did the lab tests and analyzing the data. And it was not in the aerospace industry like I wanted to. That's why it was a little deviation, but it was still very much related to what I do now, and I developed a lot of skills thanks to that. But yeah, so I did a lot of vibration tests in the lab. I got to analyze data, like pick up patterns, and yeah, and that was like the data set that we give to the numerical model to work with that, basically.
Would you say you liked a lot the lab aspects of everything, or do you prefer more the kind of like, I don't know if it's more the hands-on approach where you're really doing everything yourself, or do you like to be more on like the management side of like a project?
No, I definitely want to be more technical.
Okay.
I liked working in a lab. That's it. Like that was a big surprise because in school I didn't get to do that. I didn't get to, well, not so much, like not really doing your own tests, designing a test plan, being like, okay, I want to get this kind of data. What am I supposed to do to get this? And you design your test plan, you do the tests, and then you get all the data, you analyze that, and pick up on trends and get to conclusions. And I was like, oh, I actually like this. I like analyzing data and seeing, you know, like reading what's in the data that we collect. And that's it. That's what I discovered there. Like,
Wow.
yeah. And I use that now. I'm like, okay, I'm somebody who likes to analyze things, and well, I'll keep that in mind for future reference.
Future jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I feel like people have to, if you go into the labs, there's either people who love it or they hate it. And I feel like if you discover that and you're just like, you developed a whole new career path for yourself almost,
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah, and it's endless. Like, you know, if you know you like everything experimental and data, and there's a whole new world in that too. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
A lot of opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how does vibro-acoustics connect to aeronautical?
That's the thing, like it really does. I wouldn't say it really doesn't. Sorry, I take that back. No, it does, but it's not really. So for the project that I worked on was for the automotive industry. It was mainly like, you know, that annoying brake noise that when you brake, that high-pitched one.
Yes.
Basically, our partner was, yeah, like they wanted to see how they can reduce that noise
Okay.
in their brakes, in their cars, and we did that study basically for them. And so vibroacoustics applies to many things, like in structural systems, for example, you need to know which ones are the natural frequencies of your system so that you can avoid them and not cause anything damage, like, you know. And so that's it. That's what vibroacoustics was for. The acoustic part is mainly the noise control, the noise emission, the noise control methods. That's not really related to structures per se, but the vibration part would be, yeah. So like even at Pratt, there is a department that does this and dynamics, you know what I mean? Like you need to know how your system is going to react under stress when it's, so it's related to that.
Is vibroacoustics, like, do they use that for noise canceling headphones?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh.
So that's a form of noise control. Yeah, it's active noise control. And yeah, that's part of acoustic. Yeah.
The more you know.
Yeah.
Anyone who has them and uses them now knows exactly. If you want to learn how that works, study vibroacoustics.
Exactly. Yeah.
So now you work at Pratt and Whitney.
Yeah.
What led you to this company and what position did you start in?
So I've always admired Pratt Whitney, like ever since I studied aeronautical engineering. So at school, we studied all parts of the airplane, and I was like, I like everything, but engines are very, very interesting. Like I knew I loved engines the most, and so I knew that ideally I would work for a company that makes engines, but I was still open to everything else in aerospace. And so I got to Pratt. Pratt is one of the companies that I've admired and I followed for many years. So the program that I got in is a new grad program. And I don't know if you have any idea about these kind of programs, but basically like what we do at Pratt, it's a rotation between 3 departments.
Yeah.
We do 1 year in each department, and then we see which one is the best fit. And that's something that I highly recommend to any new grad.
Oh, yeah?
Honestly, it's such a great way to start your career. I can't think of a better way because you get to just experiment from the beginning and you get to see, you know, engineering is a big world and you don't know where to start. So if you get in any company, of course, I'm going to recommend Pratt if you're interested.
A little biased.
If you're interested, yeah, exactly. But no, I think many companies do offer these kind of programs for new grads because, as I said, like it's hard to know where you're going to fit within engineering and getting to experiment these things. Like, you know, you have 1 year within this department and then another year and then another year, and then you see which one is the best fit. And the good thing with this program for us, at least we got a mentor and we get to talk about what we're interested in our career. And we're like, oh, I want to do it. Yeah, exactly. And they're like, okay, well, let's see which departments and what kind of skills do I feel like are stronger than others, and what kind of career path do I envision for myself. So that's how it started. So I started as part of a new grad program, and I did my first year in control systems, which I loved because I got to work on a brand new engine, still in development, pre-certification. So there were a lot of testing, a lot of
Everything you love.
everything I loved. I got to experience like a big milestone of the first flight of our engine. That was such a happy, proud moment.
Wow.
And yeah, so it started like that. So, and now I moved to design, and which was also like a way to see. So at Pratt, for example, you're either a designer or an analyst. Like as an engineer, are you going to the hardware, the mechanical part, the physical part of things, or are you gonna go into the numerical things? And in each area, there's like so many departments downstream.
For sure.
So I'm happy that I got to experience both of these sides and see myself from the beginning. Okay, am I more of a designer or am I more of an analyst? So that I know which new doors are going to open for me afterwards. Yeah, so that's how.
So would you say you're more of a designer or analyst?
So I discovered that I'm more of an analyst. I told you, like, I like analyzing data and everything, but I'm very happy that I got to spend at least one of my rotations in design, because design was always something that I found interesting, and I was like, because I told you, I want to know how they do it, and so yeah, working in design is also very fun, and I got to work on so many different projects, so many engines, more than I thought I would, honestly. Yeah, we have like, in design, we have different projects at the same time. So you have like a few engines that you're working on, depending on what's, like you prioritize them however they come. But yeah, I'm glad I got to experience both, but I discovered that I'm definitely more of an analyst. Like my skill set is more numerical, analytical than
So would you say as a designer versus the analyst, how the turnover is for like analysts? Like if you're working on one project at a time, how long does that project usually take and then you move on to another one?
that depends on the engine, depends on which phase you're working on.
Okay.
Like is it pre-certification, is it post-certification? It depends on which kind of activities and which kind of department too.
Okay.
So they all have different tasks, and that's kind of what I like actually, that there's so many possibilities of what you can do. And I do see myself maybe like changing a little bit every couple of years, like most people do at Pratt. They're like, oh, there's a lot to discover, might as well, you know? So yeah.
Okay.
So now that you did these two rotations, are you gonna specialize in a specific department, or how does
So
it
now I
work
still
out?
have one more.
You have one more.
Yeah, and for this one, I talked with my mentor, and he was like, okay, which ones are you interested in? So I'm gonna go into engine performance, because that's something, yeah, that's something I was like, yeah, this is a department that I'm definitely interested in, and I'm very happy that they were able to find me an opening in that department in May, where we were gonna do a rotation in May. And yeah, so it does kind of, let's say, it guides you, it gives a clearer vision of what I want for later. And then moving from that, when I talked with my mentor, for example, we try to see, okay, which departments I might be interested in, which departments also I worked with when I was in controls, for example, and I'm like, oh, I like what they do over there, I work with them, but because you work with many teams, and that's the good thing too. When you do like a rotation or something like that, you get to work with many different teams. You meet a lot of people, and I'm somebody who just asks people what they do. I'm like, oh, you work in this department. What do you guys do? I just want to know. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Tell me
You're
more.
just trying to figure out your next rotation.
That's it. That's it.
Find information.
But you never know, because it's like it takes a lot of different teams to make an engine, and if you don't ask, you may not probably know what they do. So I'm always like, it doesn't hurt anybody to ask them what they do for a living. And
And Pratt Whitney is such a big company that you have so many possibilities.
Exactly. I'm constantly meeting people. I'm like, oh, I don't know. What do they guys do? What is this department? So yeah.
What I think is cool about the program is that you spend 1 year.
Yeah.
Because I thought it would be like maybe a couple months, like 3-4 months. But
That's a good thing.
You got
Yeah.
to spend a whole year in one thing and then move on to the next.
And that's to really, I feel like, figure out if you actually like it or don't. Because I feel like a few months is too short to know.
That's why they did it for a full year. They even said that. They said that after a full year, you already know, like you've been in the team long enough. Even your responsibilities become like more and more. Like you get more responsibility over time, and you get to actually see what it's like to work in that department, not just have things that are more beginner friendly kind of thing.
I think it's a really good opportunity, this
really
kind of
is.
career. I know that actually a lot of companies, I think, are starting to implement this. I know when I was doing you job search online, you look at LinkedIn, I know that like Bombardier now is starting to do that as well. I can't remember the other company that I saw, but a lot of them are trying to do this now.
Yeah.
And I think you're right that it makes it, if you don't know what you want to do, but you have an idea of the field that you like,
Exactly.
you can go in and just test it out. And then, after 3 years, you realize those options were for me either, then you can figure something else out. You already eliminated those.
Yeah.
But if you figure out you love something in that specific, field, then look at that,
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And that's why I highly recommend this in whichever field you want to do it. If you can find something that's a new grad rotational program, do it. And during that year, also like get on as many different tasks as you can. Like actually experience what that department's about, And yeah, like expose yourself to as much as you can. Because that's how you know. Yeah.
Would you say the rotation is hard though? Like the transition from one to another? Like
it's a little hard. Yeah, it's a little bit hard because like from the first one you get comfortable. You're like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. And then you go to a new department, you're like, oh, wait a second, I don't know anything. Yeah, you're gonna kind of start from the beginning. But just like with anything, you just gotta have to take it as, okay, this is a new challenge. This I have to build like a new skill set. I have to start from the beginning, so yeah, it's hard, but it's fun too. So it's challenging. It's something new. if you see it from the point of view of I'm discovering something new, I'm discovering
Yeah.
a new department, might as well like learn what they do exactly from the beginning. Yeah, it's fun when you see it that way.
And what if like the first thing you did was like set, like, oh, that's what I want to do forever?
Yeah.
Do you still change, or do you like, can you
No,
create-
no, you still change because it's
Okay.
yeah. I mean,
never
you keep it in
know.
mind, exactly. Keep it in mind that you like it,
Mhm.
but you have to still be open to try out the other departments too, because that's what you signed up for, kind of, you know. It's a 3 year, and then you see which one is the best fit. Like you talk with your mentor. If it's none of the three, then you can
Find
pick
something else.
yeah, exactly.
Sure.
Pick another department if they will find you something else. But it starts like that, basically.
Even
Yeah.
if you're dead set, maybe you'll do the next rotation, be like, oh my God, this is even more.
Exactly, exactly. You never know. You never
You
know what you're
really
gonna
never know.
discover. Yeah.
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 I think that's something that I think companies should implement that a lot more. Even,
Absolutely.
larger companies, I feel like it might be a bit easier just because there are a lot of departments.
True.
But even, mid-sized, smaller companies, I think that at least new grads would really benefit from trying to figure out what type of fields
Mhm.
they like, or not necessarily fields, but what kind of different, techniques, different developments. Teams work very differently as well.
Yeah.
So maybe you'll love what you do, but you won't like the way the team works, but then you work in another team and love how
True.
they communicate and they
That's
function
true.
as well. And, maybe that could be implemented back if you go back to the other field or whatnot. So I feel like there's so much to learn, even if you're happy at the one place that you
Absolutely.
like.
Yeah. I always tell myself, don't get comfortable. Like,
Yeah.
no, don't get comfortable. Always have to get out of the comfort zone, you know. So yeah, it's good. It's good to put yourself out there and just go through the experience, however it is, and just welcome it. Welcome all the tasks that are gonna come. I got on so many different tasks that were kind of not really my regular day-to-day job, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing. This is a great opportunity to learn, you know. So yeah, you have to be open. I have to be very open to learn about yourself as a professional, you know, because as a student, you know yourself as a student, but you're still discovering who you are as a professional.
Well, even if
And
you're just starting, it's like, it's
You're
still
still
new.
discovering. You're still discovering, exactly. You're still building this the start of your career, so might as well do it right. Might as well like
Yeah.
try everything, or try whatever you can try.
Of course.
Make the most out of the experience, so that you can actually have a better fit for you and for the company. Like even for them, they're like, with your skill set, where could we put you? And for you too, you're like, I want to find something where I can use my skills and it wouldn't be forced in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have to find something that just fits and that feels right for you. And the only way to do that is to try pretty much everything.
True.
Yeah.
I feel like even the older you get, even if you've been in a position for years, I feel like you might benefit from going into something else, or
Absolutely.
know.
At any time. Like
Yeah.
that's why I tell them, don't get comfortable. Like at some point, if you want to change, if you feel like you're interested by something else, by all means, go for it. People do it all the time. For example, at Pratt, they always change departments like every, well, not always, but I've met a lot of people who went through so many departments. They're like, yeah, I spent 5 years here and then 7 years here. And then they're like, oh, and then I got interested to try this and I did that. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm happy to see that people do that, because that, to me, I'm like, it's always going to be interesting. It's always going to be, there's always something new. And
So during your studies, did you do any internships?
I did, yeah. So we didn't have a lot of mandatory internships. So we had I had two. I did an internship in aircraft maintenance when I was in Tunisia. It was like a small internship, actually, like a month, I think. But yeah, I was in aircraft maintenance, and that's when I realized that I didn't really like maintenance. But no, it was very, very interesting. But I found myself more of an analytical person, and I liked the R&D part. Like I liked research. I liked like the innovation part, and so yeah, I did the one in aircraft maintenance, and after that it was like the final year, and that was more of a research project kind of thing. It wasn't really an internship per se. It was at a university at their lab also, and it was a numerical project. So it didn't really feel like a hands-on internship of say.
So that's really good that you like got into Pratt and Whitney and then got to,
Mhm.
because yeah, you got to explore like different sectors.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, that was really good. I learned a lot about myself throughout this 1.5 years that I've been at Pratt. Yeah.
Did you do any sort of like internships or work with any companies during your masters in Sherbrooke? Or
Yeah, I did. So it wasn't since it was a research master's, it was mainly just work for at the lab, and we had an industrial partner in Ontario So that's what the project was for. It was for them, basically for their brake systems. And no, it wasn't exactly in the sense of an internship, but it was work. Besides classes, it was work in the lab.
Are there any particular areas or advancements within the industry that you're interested in exploring further?
I'm always open to get on different tasks, like we do always have these side projects, let's say, you know what I mean? It's not exactly an area of interest per se, but if we're developing something new and it takes like many people from different teams, I always like to get on those things if I can. But I'm happy so far. I've had managers who always supported this, so they're like, okay, you want to support that, go for it. But I did work recently on the sustainable aviation fuel that I found very interesting, and we did like the first flight of Leonardo helicopters with 100% staff, and that was very cool to be part of that. When I saw that, yeah, when I saw the post, I was like, I was part of that team.
I was there.
Yeah, exactly. You receive an email, they're like, congrats team, good job.
That was me.
Yeah, that was exactly. But so yeah, it's like all of these little the innovation part, you know, the new things. I like that, whatever it is. So I'm always open to discover new things at Pratt. And in terms of like interest, I'm doing it, for example, with my third rotation. I'm gonna go to performance because that's the one that I'm interested in.
Nice.
So yeah, there's a lot to discover, and I'm open to discover new things that I want to discover throughout the way. So yeah.
So also being part of Pratt Whitney, you recently were part of a panel. I don't know if I'm going to say this right. It's RTX VXN.
There you go.
Before, can you tell us a little bit about the panel, that experience, and what that also stands for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So RTX, well, RTX is like the big company that Pratt is a part of.
Okay.
And BXN, so these are the diversity groups that we have at Pratt.
Okay.
So it's part of the diversity and inclusion initiatives. BXN stands for Black Excellence Network. So it was to celebrate Black History Month. And I was part of the panel that was called Innovation Beyond Limits. The event itself was called Innovation Beyond Limits, and the panel that I was part of was all about breaking barriers and not exactly innovation in the technical term, but innovation in terms of your own life and how you do things differently, how to overcome challenges, and you know, when the odds are stacked up against you, and how you can still reach your goals despite all of that. So yeah, that was what the panel was about. It was a beautiful discussion, very inspiring. And yeah, I'm happy that I got to share my side of that story, because my journey hasn't exactly been straightforward, you know. It's been there's a few bumps along the road, but
You got there.
yeah, exactly. I'm proud of myself.
That's really nice that Pratt Whitney has that type of initiative too, to also
I love that.
support everyone. And obviously, you know, diversity and inclusion and all of that is huge now, because you need that. You can't have a company without diversity.
100%.
You need the different minds, different people, different experiences. Like you said, you know, you come from Tunisia and you're coming here and you have so many different things to offer from where you grew up, how you grew up. I'm sure everything has influenced you the way it has, and that affected your career path as well. So
Absolutely. I think I genuinely believe that every single person has something to offer, and it's through embracing this diversity, and that's how we get to do it, you know. And I'm very happy to be part of these initiatives, and I've met so many wonderful people that I don't directly work with, but we became like a nice group of friends, because I'm like, oh, it's nice to you network and you meet new people, and it's all part of this like enriching culture that we have, and I really admire that, and I'm very happy to be part of it, honestly. Yeah.
how do they go about choosing the panelists? How did that event kind of start from that?
So that was we met on another networking event for women leadership.
Nice.
And yeah, I talked to the co-lead a little bit, and yeah, I shared a little bit about my story, that I came from Tunisia, and then like I studied engineering and everything. And she was like, listen, we're having this like event, and I'm still like picking out panelists, and I like your story. Just can you please come and share your story? And I was like, oh, okay,
That's awesome.
I'd like that. So yeah, sometimes you never know. Sometimes it's just like going out of your comfort zone. Let's say just going to an event or something. You end up meeting somebody, and they open a new door for you. And That's why I'm the kind of person who's like always saying yes to these things.
Oh, that's good. That's what
Yeah.
we always try to say for even part of women in engineering. We always host events and networking events, and
Absolutely, it's very important.
it's students who come to these events end up getting a lot more opportunity in the future, just because you, even if you don't get a job in that networking event, the connections that you make, the next time in a few months from now, they may be looking, maybe they'll remember you, be like, hey, what are you up to
Yes.
now? Like you meet these people and they bring you these opportunities, and that's what the beauty is about these events. And I feel like, being always open to going, even if it's scary, I'm sure going in front of a
You get
panel of
used to it.
people. Yeah.
So
It's easy now, easy peasy.
no, but like even just going to the events, honestly, I get it. At first, you're like, but I don't know anybody. Why would I go there?
Yeah.
How do I go talk to people that I don't know? You can. Why not?
Kind of just talk to everybody.
Just talk to everybody. Just introduce yourself, and that's it. And
Yeah.
you never know who you're gonna meet. That's
I feel like people at these events also they come to listen to our stories, to listen to all our experiences, because they want to meet new people and diverse.
that's what everybody's there for. They're all there to meet new people. So when you think about it, everybody's in the same situation. So might as well go, make new contacts, meet new people, keep those contacts, because you never know. You sometimes like an idea sparks up during a conversation and a networking event, and you're like, oh, okay, let's do this, and it's a new project, and yeah.
Oh, exactly. That's why we always encourage people. And I know we're part of we're part of women engineering. We're a little biased, but like we did have our networking event recently, but there's one every year. So for students that are staying, that are in their first, second, third, fourth year, any year, you can go to these events and meet people. And again, you never know who you'll meet, and you'll never know what opportunity comes from that. And even outside of, us as a society, there's so much that goes on at Concordia. And I feel like students should go out of their way for these events. Like you
100%.
said, it's not just school.
Yeah.
I feel like if you don't get those opportunities as well, like companies do value your experience outside of just your education. So you go meet people, you talk about your life, you never know what conversation will spark up something new,
Yeah.
And also, networking events, like I talked to a bunch of employers, and like they tell me that they get so many CVs, and sometimes they just like not that they cancel some, but it's like there's too many, and if you go to these networking events, like they remember your name, or
True.
they'll like be more likely to like
Yeah, it's all about
CV.
the connections. It's all about
Yeah.
building your network, and yeah, it's you have to stand out in a way, and that's one way to stand out it's to go to networking events and meet people in person and introduce yourself. And if you find somebody in a company, works in a company that you're interested in, tell them you're interested in your company.
If there's anything, any hiring, any events.
Exactly, they will remember you. Yeah.
Always, it's something that I feel like I know my parents drilled that into my brain, like from the beginning, like always, you don't burn any bridges, always have your contacts around, like
100%.
the people that you meet, if you have a good impression on them, again, even 5 years down the line, they'll be like, hey, maybe we're looking for a position. Remember that person that I met at this time? Like maybe they're still looking for a position, they're still looking for a job, and you never know. So, I mean, I was going to ask what advice you would give, and I feel like that's a good piece of advice, but is there anything else too that you would give for, new grads or people maybe even starting their degree in engineering or want to go into the aeronautical field?
Yeah, well, that's something to keep in mind for sure, to build your network. But I think it's very important to, as a student, for example, to be aware of what you like and what you don't like, and like take note of the subjects that you like at school and why you like them, not just because the professor's great, not just because you like the class.
Feel targeted.
Why? No, because it happens. No, but like why you like certain subjects, why you like them, because it's important to give yourself like a sense of direction. And note also what you're good at and what you're not good at. And you're like, yeah, no, this is really not for me. It's very important to be aware of these things because it gives you like a little bit of clarity for later on. So that's something that I would say, yeah, keep in mind, take note what you like, how you envision yourself, like what kind of, even in your own skill set, developing that certain awareness of, I'm good at this, I'm not great at this, it definitely helps along the road. Because you wouldn't feel so lost, and always put yourself out there, try out everything, don't get too comfortable.
That's really true, because I feel like when you're taking classes, you get like tunnel vision and you're just like cramming for exams
Yeah,
without thinking like, oh wait, do I actually like this?
that's the thing. Like
Yeah.
at school, we study so much.
Yeah.
You can't possibly like everything.
Yeah.
That's the
no.
thing. So that's
Yeah.
why it's important to know
Yeah.
which ones you like, which ones.
Especially for
you're good at.
engineering, you have to take so many classes that you're like, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna use this.
Yeah, exactly,
But
exactly. That's
you
why
know,
I'm
you never
saying
know.
that
You
never
that's true,
know.
That's true.
you don't know, but that's the thing. That's why it's good to keep in mind.
Yeah.
Okay, do I actually like this because I found it interesting, or
Yeah.
what do I like about it? You know?
Yeah, I find that, like you said, the reasoning specifically is like
Yeah.
actually noting down what exactly did I like about it, because you're right. Sometimes a professor could sway our opinion,
Yeah,
or sometimes like even the
Mm.
content of the class of like what we have to submit or the exams.
exactly.
That
Like,
could sway our decision too, because it's like, oh my God, I only have exams after exams. I don't like this class at all. But
exactly.
if you really take a step back and you look into the theory, look into like
And
what
you're
you're
like, "I
doing,
like
you
it."
might actually like it.
Exactly. Yeah,
So
yeah.
true.
So it's important to keep that in mind because it helps.
I know I'm guilty of, I'm like, I like a class, I'm like, it's interesting, but I'm like, the teacher is great, but then I'm like, I still struggle, and I'm like, but the
Yeah.
teacher's so good, I like this class with the teacher. Or it's the opposite, where like sometimes you don't, not everyone meshes well with some professors as well,
True.
but you love the course, but then it's like, you have that back and forth where you're like, oh, I'm struggling teaching myself these kind of concepts, but also the material is very interesting, but it's like, I'm
Yeah.
tired, I'm drained. And then I think
Yeah.
as students, we overwork ourselves a lot too,
We do,
because
yeah.
you want to be the best that you can be, but
Yeah.
it's tough. But I think that you're right, you do get tunnel vision and
That's it. Yeah,
get
that's why
limited.
it's important to not lose that sense of direction of, okay, why am I doing this? You
Yeah,
know,
for sure.
what do I actually like?
Yeah.
And go from there.
I never thought about that, if I'm being honest. I feel like in the 4 years that I've like gone by, I always forget like some little things that I enjoy, or there's
Yeah.
things that I like in the classes, but that get overshadowed, like you said, by maybe having so many other deadlines that week at the same time
Yeah,
from
yeah.
other classes. And you're just like, how do I remember everything that I like? But I think for new students, Srab, you particularly
Yeah.
do that, take advantage of that as well. I mean, it's still beneficial to us. We're graduating this semester, but
Yeah.
you know, for the future, even working, you know, you never know
Yeah,
what you
that's
like, what you don't like.
For sure, yeah, it's everywhere because whether in the beginning of your career or when you're still a student, it's important to take note of that because it's better than losing so many years in a path that you may not like, you know. So take the time to figure it out, whether during internships, when you're a student, in the beginning of your career, take your time to figure it out and take note of what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at. And just like zoom out, you know, of all the classes and all the exams.
You have
but-
time.
Yeah, but that's important. It's important to do that because it saves you time on the long run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I feel like with this, you know, you've given us a lot of good advice, and I think students can really appreciate that. And I
Yeah.
think they should take what you say and try to apply it to, you know, their everyday life and their careers as well. But thank you for having this conversation with us today. Is
course.
there any event for you coming up that we can maybe see, or something with Pratt and Whitney coming up? Is there anything that you know of?
We do have a few events, but that's like internal. I do have an
Okay.
event on Friday for International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy International Women's Day. It's a month actually.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, but that's an internal event called Empathy Matters, and we're gonna talk about how to stay strong as a woman living in a different culture, living alone in a different country.
That's
And
nice.
yeah, so we do have a lot of exciting events coming up, but yeah, I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you for having me. This was really
Thank you.
nice.
This has been an awesome conversation. And like I said, I'm sure whoever listens can take good advice from this conversation. So again,
I'm
Myriam,
glad.
thank you for being here today. And I'd like to thank the Fourth Space as well for allowing us to
Thank you.
film here. And thank you for to our viewers for tuning in. Please check us out on social media, Women in Engineering, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all of the above. The Fourth Space as well has really cool events. Check them out. On the Concordia website, I think has a cool calendar as well, their Instagram and everything. And yeah, thank you guys again, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Iron Ring.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Emilia, Alexandra, Srab. Thank you for coming in. We're going to close up the conversation today. Thanks for coming into the space. We'll be closing up our live stream and our Zoom, but just a reminder that it remains available on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to revisit it, feel free to join us again and have a great